Topping today's news, former Deputy House Speaker Saunders laid to rest concerns over child abuse numbers remaining high, PTC line and managerial union staffs threatening industrial action, and police continue to take high-powered illegal rifles off the streets. Good evening, Bahamas. I'm Don Saunders. This is your JCN Evening News. It's a pleasure to have you join us. A mass thanksgiving for the late Don Saunders was held today at St. Agnes with hundreds of family, friends, political and professional acquaintances showing their respects to Mr. Saunders and his immediate family. Saunders leaves behind a wife, Tiffany, and 3 children. Reverend Leish Boyd officiated the service. Leader of the official opposition, Michael Pintard, he brought condolences on behalf of his family and the Free National Movement, while Prime Minister Philip Davis also there bringing remarks on behalf of his family and the Progressive Liberal Party, as well as the government of the Bahamas. The Venerable Keith Cartwright then delivered the sermon. It was a shock to the nation when Mr. Saunders was shot and killed during an armed robbery while at a business establishment in Gambia Village on March 27th. Mr. Saunders, a budding attorney and politician, was only 49 years old. Police have since charged 2 men with his murder, looking for a 3rd suspect. It is quite disheartening to think of, but the Ministry of Social Services revealed that the number of cases involving child abuse and neglect increased by almost 90% in 2023 compared to 2022. Officials saw child abuse numbers increase during the COVID-19 pandemic lockdowns, and it appears that that trend continued in 2023. They say in 2022 there were 319 reported cases that included physical, sexual, verbal, and emotional abuse, in addition to incest, neglect, and abandonment. In 2023, that number rose by 90 to 409 reported incidents of child neglect and abuse. This is a cause for concern, especially when taking into account that some incidents were likely not reported at all. According to the Ministry of Social Services, there are currently about 150 children in protective care throughout the Bahamas. April is observed as Child Protection Month. On the heels of the Bahamas Crisis Center renewing their calls for the government to redefine and include marital rape under law, Chairman of the Free National Movement, Dr. Don Saunders, is criticizing the Davis administration for stalled progress on drafted amendments to the Sexual Offences Act. On Monday, Prime Minister Philip Davis asserted rape is rape, but Dr. Saunders says the Prime Minister's sentiments are hollow.
You simply can't trust Brave Davis. Despite 2.5 years of so-called consultation on outlawing marital rape, he effectively told the country that he is breaking his promise. In yet another Brave Davis flip-flop, he now says that he doesn't like the idea of describing rape. Our laws on rape are clear. The only exception is in the case of a spouse. In fact, the draft amendment to the Act, which was released for consultation in 2022 by this government, removes the words, "who is not his spouse."
Dr. Saunders says he also believes the matter of marital rape is dead under the Davis administration.
He also said that we remain one of the few countries in the world where that is not recognized in the law. An effort to change the law should be part of a larger national conversation. His words. Well, for all intents and purposes, Brave Davis is finished with any conversation, because we know that all he was trying to do was delay, deny, ignore.
Dr. Saunders says the Prime Minister continues to mislead the public on the issue, calling his statements solely public relations. Both unions, including the line staff and managers at the Bahamas Telecommunications Company, BTC, are threatening industrial action after a breakdown in industrial agreement negotiations. Sherry Benjamin, president of the Bahamas Communications and Public Officers Union, the BCPOU, told the National Guardian that union members are displeased with the recent termination of a number of line staff, managerial staff, the lack of an industrial agreement, in addition to unsafe working environments, allegedly. According to Ms. Benjamin, the union is exploring all options in terms of industrial action. For BTC, its top executive says they continue to have amicable discussions with both line staff and managerial unions. And finally, in this segment, as the public dispute between the government and the Grand Bahama Port Authority wages on, this week, former Member of Parliament Frederick McAlpine chimed in and described the government's actions against the Grand Bahama Port Authority as bully tactics and hints of an attempted hostile takeover. Mr. McAlpine said the city of Freeport, ran by the government, is not a viable option. Well, on Wednesday, PLP Chairman Fred Mitchell accused Mr. McAlpine of singing the same tune as the official opposition.
Some of us on Monday passed pause to hear what he had to say. Oh, what a disappointment that was. All the F&M talking points. He's safely back in the F&M fold, one supposes. If you closed your eyes, you would have thought it was one of the shareholders of the Grand Bahama Port Authority group of companies, or maybe even Michael Pintard. Today, McAlpine, Pintard, Minnis, and Thompson are all perpetuating a falsehood, a fiction, that the Port Authority is more efficient than the Bahamas government, that the Port Authority takes care of Freeport, that the taxes in Freeport outweigh what the government spends there. Those are fictions and falsehoods.
The government says the Grand Bahama Port Authority owes some $357 million owed for infrastructural works carried out in the city of Freeport over the last 5 fiscal year periods. The government says the funds must be paid within the allotted 30-day period or face arbitration. The Grand Bahama Port Authority has rejected the government's claims and said it will vigorously defend itself. Chairman Mitchell shared examples as to why the Grand Bahama Port Authority owes the government large sums of money.
The taxes foregone, for one example, since 2016 to the Bahamas government amount by one estimate to be $64 million. The Bahamas government will have to spend, just one example, $250 million at least to build a new airport, which is the responsibility of the Grand Bahama Port Authority. That's just one immutable fact. Take a ride along the Lucayan Waterway and see the broken seawalls that are going unrepaired. The port's responsibility. Someone published a list of maybe 20 major businesses that have gone under while the city was being managed by its present owners. But Frederick McAlpine and his F&M friends should stop being weak-kneed apologists for a regime that has failed and to which change must come.
Meanwhile, Prime Minister Philip Davis is on record saying he has no confidence in the Grand Bahama Port Authority. We'll take a break here. We'll be right back after these commercials.